Hello and welcome to Affinity. In our series of doing sort of advanced beginners now, what we're doing is we're taking a picture and we're doing kind of a slow edit, doing a number of techniques and things we can do, but taking time and explaining carefully what we're doing along the way. So here we have, this is in the main square in Madrid. And what you can see here is it's sort of a bit dull and darkish. And if we look at the histogram over here, we've got from sort of darks at this end and lights at this end. So we've got a lot of light up here, and that's going to be the sky. And everything else is down here. And it's like mostly below halfway. So it's going to be mostly dark, which is why all this kind of looks a bit dark. So what can we do about it? Well, what we can do is go down here to shadows and highlights. And I'm going to turn the highlights up and down and watch the histogram as I do that. So if I push it to the left, see it squeezes it up. So I move this backwards and forwards. It's moving, effectively squeezing the top part of the histogram. The bottom isn't changing very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it all the way left. So I've actually squished it up here, which has pulled that bit, which is the sky, and made the sky darker. The rest hasn't changed that much, which is why it's the highlights control. Now then, I've got space to sort of squeeze the whole lot out now. So if I push this lot up, I'm taking the rest of it, which is the buildings, and making that brighter. And as long as I don't go over the edge, I won't get any burnout where something goes completely white or a solid colour. So I've got these three set up here to see if I'm tipping over the edge. But now I can go back up here, and if I pull the exposure up, then you can see here it's brightening it right up a bit, but I drag this up a bit here. So I need to go back down the other way. And a way of doing that is with the black point, because if I do put that down there, you can see it's sort of stretching it back the way I came. And I can play with things here. Maybe I've squished it all up together a bit, pull that down a bit, but I can compensate a bit with brightness there. And so we can play with this, looking at the histogram, but then looking back over here as well. And we can see actually, this is a lot better now. It's tend to be a bit more saturated, and we can easily address that by just turning the saturation down a bit here. So it looks okay. In fact, what we can see with this, the colours here are nice. There's some of the reds here a bit bright, but we'll fix that later on. So how are we doing here? Can we turn the brightness up a little bit? Is that going to push that further up? But this is now, the shadows are pushed up a bit. So if I go this way, it pulls the shadows back down a bit. Should be a little bit, well, that's actually the top control has actually pushed that too far, so that's not making much difference now. But it's okay. This is a start point then for where we're going to go next. And the next thing is, it'd be nice to sort of straighten up the buildings here. I just like doing that. It's keeping it sort of square on. And you can do it in here with things like under the lens tab, with the horizontal going backwards and forwards like this, sort of tilting that, but it's now sort of at an angle. And if I rotate it to get it straight that way, now these bits are tilting over, so it's kind of a bit awkward. So typically what I'll do with that is I'll leave that as is here, sort of originally, and then I'll do that in the photo persona, because at the moment we're in the develop persona. So to get to the photo persona, we go to develop. So we're now in the more familiar environment. Also, the first thing I'm going to do here, and we can see that if we zoom in to places like this, so look at those, the legs there, look at that colouring around the outside. This is because it was a wide angle lens with a fairly narrow aperture. and this is chromatic aberration. And to get rid of that, just go to Filters, Colors and Chromatic Aberration. There, that's mostly fixed. There's a little bit of funny colouring here, but we're going to look elsewhere to find out more about that. In fact, I'm going to go up here where you can see this a bit more clearly. You can see we've got a bit of purple one side and a bit of green the other side. And so when chromatic aberration's only got you so far, the next thing is to go to Filters, Colours and Defringe. And now what we do is we click on one of these colours at the edge. So let's click on that purple there, and this moves the colour to where the purple is. And then all we do is turn down this edge brightness threshold until the purple disappears. There you go, it's gone there. And I apply that. But I've still got green the other side. So I go Filters, Colours and Defringe. I might have put in also Remove Complementary Hue, but I found that doesn't actually work too well, so I just do it twice. I'm going to click on the green there, so that's moved up to the green colour. I pull down the threshold here until that has disappeared, then apply that. I could go around and check any other areas, but that's kind of good enough for now. Right, now what I want to do is do a bit of straightening up. And the way to do that is down here with the perspective tool. So if I click on that, the corners here I can pick, and I can sort of drag outness here out like this. So I can pull this around here, but it's difficult to actually know when it's going to be straight. So I'll just cancel that a moment to get it back to the beginning, and let's start again. And the trick with this is where it says mode here, it starts off with destination, which means you can drag the corners to reshape it. Is if I start off with source, now I pull in the corners here to form what will be a rectangle. So I'm going to start off with the roof line there. I'm going to come down at the edge of the windows here and then along the bottom. So I'll bring that in along the bottom there, and that in along here. And then I'm going to zoom in quite close to check I've got that exactly on the roof line there. In fact, I got that there, yeah, that'll do. Right, okay. But I want to get this alongside the window, so let's pull this along a bit here. So that's going to go down the window there. And then I'm going to put this on the top of the stonework just there and going up that window. Then I go over to the other end of this. There we go, onto the stonework there and going up that window. And then here into the edge there and onto the roof line there. So Control 0 to get back out again. And now you can see I've got this sort of what I'd like to be a rectangle. So I'm going to turn on the snapping here so that it will snap here. Oopsie daisy, I know what I've missed. I need to change this source to destination. Right, now when I move this, there you go, see it moves the whole thing. So I got that, so this is a vertical line here. Let's make this one to be horizontal there, this one here vertical, and then this one, and then when it snaps, you know you got it right there. If you want to check, go to the move tool. I think we apply this first, but if you want to double check, go to the move tool here, go to the rulers, which you can turn on via view, show rulers, drag there, you get a blue line comes down, and you can see whether that is straight there. See, the middle one bit is a bit higher, but those red ones gives us a decent horizontal, and we can do the same with verticals. Okay, what we're going to do now, let's do the crop next. So we want to use a part of this. So I'm going to use kind of around here. I want to get the top of here. I'm going to get the top of that as well. So I'm going to copy a bit from here over there. I don't want these bits here, so I'm going to come in here. I'm actually going to crop down the middle of that window there. Come up for the bottom. I don't need all this space here, so come into there. And then go down the middle of the window there. Because it's the middle of the window, that you can see, it shows the windows are continuing, and it allows a sense of being wider than it is. Then we'll bring this down here, so that's up there with a bit of space above that building there, and it's a reasonable aspect ratio. So I'm going to apply that. Now then, what I want to do is to fill in this area here. So I'm going to go to select alpha range, which is transparency, and select partially transparent, which includes fully and partially. The reason we select that is along the line here there are some partially transparent pixels. Then to fill that out, I go to edit and inpaint, and that's going to use the inpainting to fill in this space here. Oh, it's got a bit up there, so I'll go down here to the inpainting tool brush and make that a bit bigger and paint over that, see where I can get this to be filled out. And because I got the selection set, it's only going to select from within that. It's not going to clone things out here. That's okay, so Control D to get rid of that. So any other cloning things, I actually don't like this here. It's a bit tricky to fix this, but let's see what we can do. What if I just paint over there? I'll leave the head till afterwards because it's not bad. See, so let's continue those lines there. And the head, let's see what happens there. Actually, that's not too bad. And then we can, in here, perhaps paint along here and sort of tidy that up a bit. Yeah, that's okay. That's surprisingly okay, isn't it? Okay, so now we've got a lot better image here. So well, let's figure out this cross now. So I'm going to go to the freehand selection tool here, the lasso. I draw all the way around this. Then effectively I'm going to copy and paste. And what this done is pasted this into a new layer over here. So if I go to the move tool, I can then take this and put it over on top of the other one there. Let's zoom into that to see how we're doing with that. It'd be nice to be able to see where you are on top, so just drop the opacity so we can see the one on top. So I'm putting that on top there. If I Control D to get rid of the marching ants, you can see here it's a little bit different in colour. So all I need to do, in fact, I turn this up here, you can see even more, you can see a bit of the edges of this. So I change the blend mode to darken. The sky is darker here, so it's picking up the sky underneath more. There, I need to soften the edge a bit, so I'm going to get the erase brush, make sure I've got this still selected, make sure it's a very soft brush, and then I'll just knock out the bits there which are kind of showing through. What I can do with this is I can do a little bit more work. I'm going to leave that like that. That's close enough because it's away in the distance, and you can see we've now got two matching towers. So let's have a look at these reds here. These are just a little bit too bright here. So I'm going to go to the adjustments and HSL to put this above everything else there. So it's just affecting this. Click on the red and then use the picker here to make sure I got the right red. So click on one of the reds there. You often get this where red is just too bright. Then I will take the saturation and turn it down so these are a bit more sensible, they're not intruding. But now I've turned the red down the reds in the building a little bit too much. So I'm going to go to that, go to layer and invert, or Control I. That brings it back. So I just want to take out these. So I need to paint on there in white. So get a paintbrush, make sure I've got white, and then I can paint those back to the reds, including the reflection there, and these here, and any of the bits of red which are just a little bit too red in here. But we keep the nice red in the building. And what else can we do? It's still not all the way there. Let's try a bit of curves. And here I'm just going to turn up this a little bit, but maybe bring this down a bit. Maybe the whole thing needs a little bit of darkening. Yeah, I think it does a little bit. It was just a little bit too light, wasn't it? Yeah, that's a bit better. That's more realistic. Just a tiny bit is often enough. And I'm going to do a sharpening, so I'm going to sort of zoom into here and see whether sharpening will improve it. So I'm going to go to Live Filters and High Pass and click to monochrome, set the blend mode to linear light here, and then I just change the radius and watch what's happening here. Normally around about 1, certainly not above 1, is okay. So the edge here is a lot sharper. If I set off and on, that's a bit sharper, but I've got noise coming in here. So I want to put a noise layer underneath here, so denoising, before I do the high pass filter. So I go to denoise there and just turn up the luminance, forget about the rest. Turn this up until the noise disappears. So I turn that up there, and there we go. The noise here has been turned down. Don't overdo this. And the sharpening still working pretty well there. So overall then, there's our final image. And it goes from, that was the original after we did the colour improvement, and that's the one we've finished with. That's it. Thank you very much for watching.